The first thing you hear on Kensington Avenue isn't traffic or conversation. It's the brittle crunch of glass underfoot and the dull thud of a body hitting concrete. A teenager in a puffer jacket slips to his knees, eyes rolling back, the syringe he couldn't finish still trembling between his fingertips. Buses rumble past, their windows reflecting a city that once forged Navy ships and locomotives, now forging pain in plain view. How does a place once known as the workshop of the world descend into an open-air triage ward? The answer begins long before fentanyl, before crack, even before the first rowhouse door was boarded shut. Philadelphia's rise was loud and iron-clad. In 1910, the city's textile mills ran 15 hours a day, and smoke from Baldwin Locomotive Works made daylight look like dusk. Families from Ireland, Poland, and the deep South poured in, threading a safety net of union halls, corner bars, and church basements. Wages weren't lavish, but they paid for coal heat, fresh rolls, and the certainty of next week's shift. That certainty vanished after World War II, when cheaper southern and overseas factories undercut Phillies. By 1960, more than 1/4 of the city's manufacturing jobs had evaporated. By 1980, nearly half were gone. The machines lay idle, rust flaking like brown snow, and the neighborhoods that depended on them began a slow bleed of storefronts, property values, and pride. When the paychecks stopped, mortgages followed. Families who could flee did, heading to Levittown's cul-de-sacs and mall parking lots. Those who stayed watched vacant houses multiply like broken teeth. At the exact moment a safety net was most needed, it snapped again. Beginning in the late 1960s, state mental hospitals shut their doors in the name of community-based care, yet the promised clinics never materialized. Thousands of patients left Norristown State with little more than a bus token and a paper sack of meds that would soon run out. Psychiatric emergencies doubled, shelters filled. Philadelphia coined a phrase that soon spread nationwide: visible homelessness. On streets already frayed by recession, a new spark landed: cheap, potent rock cocaine. By 1984, entire blocks of North Philly pulsed with 24-hour crack bazaars. Police scanners lit up with code 340, person with pipe. ER doctors called Friday nights rock rotations. In Kensington, the old Reading Railroad Viaduct offered fast getaways and hidden corners for deals. Parents warned kids never to cross Front Street after dark, even though many already had. Homicides tripled in less than a decade. Addiction treatment beds were so scarce that activists chained themselves to city hall railings, begging for funding nobody could find. Amid the chaos, the heroin trade arrived quietly. Colombian suppliers realized that customers chasing a quicker, stronger high would switch without hesitation, especially if purity was high and price was low. By the early 1990s, dime bag heroin undercut crack. Dealers color-coded wax paper stamps, Red Devil, Blue Magic, Kill Bill, and handed out samples the way pizza shops hand out coupons. The neighborhood's reputation metastasized. Kensington was no longer just poor, it was poison. All the while, federal policy shifted the ground under people's feet. The 1996 welfare overhaul demanded recipients find work within 2 years, but the factories they once relied on were bulldozed or converted to luxury lofts. Single mothers lost benefits faster than they found daycare. Men with felonies discovered that even minimum wage warehouses ran background checks. Some moved into abandoned rowhouses without utilities, feeding kerosene heaters and praying the floorboards would hold. Then came the little orange bottles. In the late 1990s, pharmaceutical reps in tailored suits assured doctors that oxycodone was safe, rarely addictive, perfect for chronic pain. Workers who had torn rotator cuffs on the last surviving factory lines were suddenly nodding at company picnics. Prescriptions in Philadelphia shot up nearly 90% in 5 years. High-dose pills sold for $1 a milligram on the street. Teenage dealers stashed fortunes in shoeboxes. Families who never imagined drug use crept into their own kitchens, found medicine cabinets swept clean. When state monitoring finally tightened, users did the math. One 80-milligram oxy cost $60. A bag of Kensington heroin cost $6. Withdrawal makes logic simple. Pill crushers drove to Kensington in minivans, parked under the L, scored half grams without ever stepping out. Dealers bragged that their product was suburban tested, doctor approved. The city's Department of Behavioral Health pleaded for more detox beds. Funding came in drips. If heroin was gasoline, fentanyl was jet fuel. Around 2014, traffickers began cutting powder with a synthetic that could be lethal at 2 milligrams. Overdoses spiked 300% in 3 years. Entire crews of EMTs blew through cases of Narcan before lunch, sometimes reviving the same person twice in a shift. When a particularly hot batch hit in 2017, 15 people died within 6 hours. Paramedics compared it to a mass casualty incident without the explosion. Viral phone footage of users frozen mid-stride turned Kensington into an international spectacle. Tourists filmed misery as though it were urban wildlife, then drove away to post clips captioned, "Zombie Apocalypse." Yet every shocking scene held a quieter backstory. Frankie, once a forklift driver at the Navy Yard, lost 3 fingers in a mishap, got hooked on Percocet, then heroin, then fentanyl mixed with xylazine tranq, the animal sedative that rots flesh. He sleeps under the Lehigh Avenue Bridge, his left forearm wrapped in a t-shirt to hide a wound that won't close. Lisa, a former pharmacy tech from Upper Darby, has overdosed 9 times. The last Narcan dose revived her long enough to collapse again on the asphalt while a SEPTA bus honked around her. Their stories aren't footnotes. They're the chapters too many skip. City Hall tried scorched earth tactics, encampment sweeps with front-end loaders and trash compactors, but tents popped back up before the diesel smell cleared. In 2018, the mayor launched the Philadelphia Resilience Project, an all-hands emergency response that bulldozed illegal dumps, added daytime drop-in centers, and delivered 1,900 housing placements. Progress flickered, then dimmed as the pandemic slammed budgets and flooded streets with despair. In 2020, nearly 2,000 unsheltered people were counted citywide despite lockdown orders. COVID test vans parked beside needle exchange vans, each line just as long. While deaths climbed, a legal thunderstorm gathered over a single idea: supervised injection sites. Nonprofit Safehouse argued it could save lives by letting users inject under medical watch, reversing overdoses instantly and steering people toward treatment. Neighbors shouted that it would invite an exodus of users to their doorsteps. In April 2024, a federal judge struck the plan down again, ruling that religious freedom claims couldn't override drug laws. The courtroom fell silent. On Kensington Avenue, sirens kept wailing. Simultaneously, prosecutors launched the Kensington Initiative, a data-driven strike against high-volume dealers. Undercover buys, cell tower pings, precision raids. Early busts seized kilos of fentanyl, but within weeks new suppliers filled gaps. Residents joked bitterly that arrests were pothole fixes, temporary, necessary, and never enough. Meanwhile, the DEA's 2024 threat assessment warned of counterfeit pills saturated with fentanyl pouring in faster than labs could test them. Encampments ballooned. By May 2025, city crews launched a $100 million sweep targeting 39% of the unsheltered population along Kensington Avenue. Mayor Sherelle Parker framed it as public safety and public health merged. Critics compared it to pushing a puddle. People scattered into underpasses, skate parks, even the gateway steps of Independence Mall. One outreach worker found a mother and her 8-year-old son sleeping behind a dumpster 2 blocks from the Liberty Bell. The crisis phrase more than tense. It unravels trust. Homeowners along Amber Street tape cardboard over mail slots to keep the stench out. Children dodge hypodermics walking to John B. Stetson Charter. Small business owners install inch-thick plexiglass and still pray nightly. Even Philadelphia's celebrated mural arts program, which splashed color on blank walls for decades, now stations staff to scrape graffiti tags that appear before the paint dries. Yet hope has a stubborn streak here. Sister Mary Scullion's Project Home has carved permanent supportive apartments out of gutted warehouses, pairing keys with case management and dignity. The city's hub of hope drop-in beneath suburban station opens at dawn to showers, laundry, and a nurse who greets each guest by name. Peer recovery specialists, many in remission themselves, roam with backpacks full of wound care kits and chocolate milk because protein helps heal lesions faster. They'll tell you the smallest victory, a birth certificate replaced, a detox bed accepted, a phone call returned to mom, can feel like fireworks. Legal settlements against opioid manufacturers promise billions for treatment and prevention, but checks trickle slower than overdoses rise. Advocates urge officials not to build more jails with the windfall. Instead, they want low-threshold housing, medication-assisted treatment on demand, and job pipelines that don't evaporate at the first background check. Others argue for tougher curfews, more patrols, and zero tolerance for sidewalk injection. The city oscillates between compassion and crackdown, never finding equilibrium. Meanwhile, private developers turn other parts of Philadelphia into polished glass and steel. From University City's gene therapy labs to Center City's luxury condos, money flows like the Schuylkill after a storm. Tourists eating soft pretzels at Reading Terminal Market rarely venture north to Kensington. Yet their Ubers glide within 2 miles of streets where residents carry Narcan the way others carry lip balm. The wealth gap is no longer a statistic. It's a trolley ride. Parents of the lost gather monthly at McPherson Square Library, nicknamed Needle Park, lighting candles for children who never lived to see 30. A brass plaque outside still reads "Free to all," a promise that feels both noble and cruel as EMTs revive someone on the very steps meant for imagination and books. Still, every dawn, outreach vans roll under the L, routes logged on clipboards held together with duct tape. Volunteers swap used syringes for clean ones. Offered granola bars, ask, "Ready for treatment today?" Usually the answer is, "Not yet." But sometimes, 1 time out of 20, it's maybe. Recovery houses throw pizza parties for 90-day chips. And for a moment, laughter ricochets off brick facades louder than the trains overhead. Philadelphia's story is still being written. It is equal parts cautionary tale and blueprint, warning and invitation. It shows how a proud city can lose its footing when smokestacks go silent, when pills pass for medicine, when policy forgets people. But it also shows that a single outreach worker, a single bed, a single second chance can crack open daylight. Whether Kensington remains a symbol of failure or becomes proof of redemption depends on choices being made right now. Bulldozers or beds, punishment or possibility, resignation or relentless hope. A century ago, factory whistles marked quitting time, echoing over rowhouses now draped in tarps. The whistles are gone, but another sound has taken their place. The exhale of people determined to stay alive one more night, and the footfalls of neighbors determined not to give up on them. The city's heart still beats beneath the L, battered but unbroken, waiting for the day when its streets tell a different story. One where the only thing sprawled across Kensington Avenue is sunlight. Sources: